Hey guys, this week for Weapons Wednesday, I thought it would be fun to look at some of our throwing stars. We sell so many different types of throwing stars that I thought it'd be interesting to look at some of the more unique ones and just kind of figure out which ones actually work for sticking into targets and which ones are better for like wall hangers or to show off to your friends. So let's take a look at some of our throwing stars and just see what we have and just grab some random ones and try throwing them. All right, so I wanted to kind of start by looking at more of our standard throwing stars. Like this guy, for instance. This is just a standard 6-point silver throwing star. And I'm gonna go ahead and open this up. But what I kind of like about these is they're a good size. These are, this is a very popular size of throwing star. It just comes with all these little blade covers. Okay, so that's a very cool, good size of throwing star, and it's got a good weight to it too. So I have a feeling this is going to throw really nicely. This is definitely one of our more popular ones that's available. So what I did here is I just set this area up for throwing, and I put this puzzle mat in the background because it's made of a material that's very similar to the density of like flesh or something like that. And if you use something that's softer that the throwing star can stick into nicely, you're not going to damage your stars as quickly. So they'll last so much longer than if you're throwing them at trees or something like that. But I know that the majority of you guys are going to be taking these outside. You're going to find the first tree you can find, and you're going to be chucking them at trees, light poles, whatever. So I figured I'd just grab this old Wing Chun dummy that I've used in previous videos, and we just throw the stars at that. Now, the only thing I need to mention is this Wing Chun dummy is made of a really hard wood, and it's been lacquered, and it's actually extremely dense. So it's gonna be a little bit harder than a standard like tree that you'd be throwing something at. But it'll give us a good idea of whether these things stick or not. Yeah, if we can stick into this, you can stick into anything. So let's give this guy a try. This is our 6-point star. And let's see. Okay, so we'll just give this a try. Can you see that okay? All right. So one other thing I should explain is if you go on YouTube or if you look around online, you can find so many different people telling you how to throw throwing stars. And the fact of the matter is that there's no real right or wrong way to throw them. In feudal Japan, when they developed throwing stars, there were different schools that were teaching these things. And each school tried to have their own design of throwing star. And then also different schools would try different throwing methods. So a lot of them, I would say the vast majority of people kind of agree that throwing a throwing star is kind of an overhead thing where you throw a straight line. But people also are known to throw them underhand. They're known to throw them like that. A lot of people choose to throw multiple stars at the same time. I mean, there's really no right or wrong. It's just kind of what feels best for you, and you'll learn by doing it over time what actually works for you. But the nice thing about throwing stars, the really nice thing about them is they're so easy to learn. So let's just give this guy a try, see how it goes. Here, I'm gonna move back just a smidge. Okay, so just go back a little bit. Okay, so yeah, if you see, this thing's in there pretty deep. It's a really sharp star. It's got enough weight behind it that it actually sticks really nicely. So I would definitely recommend these throwing stars. But let's look at some other ones real quick. All right. You know, I was thinking about which stars I would want to see mostly, and the ones that came to mind for me were the little ones. So we've got a lot of these kind of more popular little throwing star sets. So we'll just kind of look at these. But it's a set of throwing stars, and they're smaller. They're a little bit smaller than those throwing stars I was just throwing. But if you think about it, generally back when the samurai were using these things, they would use the throwing stars not so much to maim someone, but more of a distractionary weapon. So they would have their sword ready, and they would have their throwing stars ready, and they would throw their throwing stars. They'd typically aim for the neck or the eyes, and they'd try to distract the person, and then they would come in and they would use their sword. So these little throwing stars, they're actually awesome. They, I think they throw pretty nicely. Though my only concern is that this thing's pretty small and it doesn't have a lot of weight to it, and that is a really dense pole, so I'm not 100% sure it's gonna stick, but let's just give it a try. So, okay. Okay. If we look at this, it actually stuck in pretty well. Yeah, that thing's in there tight. Okay, so I was able to get it out, and it doesn't have a lot of weight behind it, but they're sharp enough. They actually stick really nicely. So I'm impressed with this little guy, actually. I think they're a pretty cool set. And the set comes with a bunch of different ones. Let's take a look real quick. Comes with, okay, so that looks like a 6-point star there. And then looks like we've got, ooh, kind of a double pointed star, which is kind of cool. So we got a whole bunch of, it's like a little variety pack. So I like these little packs, they're kind of neat. But let's check out one that's a little different than the rest of the stars. One of the bat-shaped ones. You know, there's a lot of people that buy these things, and I'm always kind of wondering, is this something that's just like you can show off to your friend, or is this something that would actually, you know, stick into a target? So this is going to be a real test for me too, because I have no idea how these things work. So as we can see, you know, they kind of, so they've got that bat shape to them, and let's just go give it a try. Let's see see if these things are any good. My only concern is, how do you throw something like this? I guess I'm going to do it overhead, but it only has a spike there and a sharp point there. This isn't really sharp at all, so that's not going to stick. So I think I'm going to try throwing it like kind of like this, so it kind of comes off my fingers and spins. We'll see how that works. I don't know, I've actually been super curious about these for years, so it'll be interesting to see if they actually stick. Let's see if they're even sharp enough first off. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna take a lot of force to get that in. So I have a feeling this is more of one of those things that you'd hang on your wall. But we'll give it a try. So let's see, I'm gonna have you move back a little ways, because I have a feeling this thing's gonna ricochet pretty well. So just try it. Okay, that actually did a lot better than I thought it would. If you look, that thing's in pretty tight. So I'm surprised. I honestly thought these would be kind of useless as a throwing weapon, but apparently they're pretty good. And I have a feeling this is one of those throwing weapons where it would take a while to get good at. But then once you're good at it, it'd probably be a pretty awesome weapon. So let's check out some different shapes. You know, if you guys could also put in the comments on this video different weapons you want to see, or throwing stars you'd like to see me try out, that would be really helpful for me for future videos. But just looking at our selection, oh, you know, one I've been really curious about, I think this is it here. Yeah, okay, this is going to be an interesting one to see. So this is called, I think it's the Deadly Dragon Throwing Star or something. I'm going to put the names and the URLs of all of these Shuriken underneath the video, so you can find them on karatemart.com in case you wanted to purchase them. But I've always been curious about this one because it's got this blade and it's actually super sharp, but I don't see how well that would go into anything. Like if you're throwing that at a tree, I think it would have to hit these points exactly to actually stick, or these points. So I have a feeling this is more of a wall hanger than an actual throwing star, but let's give it a try. Let's just see. You never know. I mean, it could be the best throwing star ever. Just never know. But yeah, one thing that's interesting too, one thing I always think about when I'm looking at throwing stars is when you're figuring out what type of star to buy, you often have the choice of what color to get. You know, they have silver, they have black, they have all these anodized colors too. Generally, when you're throwing stars, you're going to be out in the woods or something. So you always got to consider the fact that if your star falls into a field, it's going to be a lot easier to find if it's chrome and shiny than if it's black. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Anyway, let's give this a try. Definitely, I have a bad feeling about this one, so let's. But we'll see. Could be as good as the bat one. You never know. Okay, I completely missed my target, and that's okay. That's going to happen. I mean, you got to practice a lot. It stuck really nicely into the foam, but that's not really what we want to see. We want to see if it'll actually stick into the wood. So let's try that again and see if I can actually stick it this time. Okay, so back. Okay, so that one actually shaved the side of this thing and took a little chunk out of it. It didn't stick, it just kind of bounced off. I think I should try one more time just to see if it'll stick, but I don't have a lot of faith in this star, to be completely honest. Okay, stand back. Okay, so that hit right here. And I think it got it pretty good. Like you can see how it took out a little chunk, but it really did not stick at all. So yeah, it's kind of as I figured. I think you could get this star to stick. I think it would be it'd be very difficult though. So yeah, great star for foam, great star for hanging on the wall. Probably not the best star for throwing at trees. Let's check out another one. See what else we've got. This is great though, because we get a lot of customers that ask like which throwing stars are the best ones for target practice, and now we're learning, so that's great. Let's see. I've always been kind of curious about this guy here. Let's see what this one looks like. Okay, this one's kind of unique. I think we call it the Death Claw throwing star, if I remember correctly. It kind of looks like a death claw, but again, I'll put all the URLs and the names at the bottom of this video, so we'll see. But what's different about this one is it's got this ring that's been attached to the star itself, which I'm not so sure about. I've honestly never thrown one like that. I see why they did it. It definitely makes the star itself a little bit stronger, because without it, it's kind of, I don't know, it doesn't have a lot separating the blades. But my concern about it is that it's not making it very aerodynamic by having this extra piece of metal attached to it. So I don't know, let's give it a try. Again, this one looks awesome. This would look amazing like hanging on your wall or something, but you know, how realistic is this as a throwing star? So let's give it a whirl. I do like the size though. I like that it's a little bit smaller. I think it would be very stealthy. So I don't know, so let's give it a whirl. All right, you ready? Okay, so. Wow. Okay, that actually stuck really nicely. Yeah, that's in there tight. One thing I should probably explain though is that whenever you're pulling out a throwing star, always make sure you pull it out perfectly straight, because what a lot of people do is they'll like just grab them real quick and bend the blades. So yeah, you want to pull it perfectly straight out. But that went in a long ways, and I think this is actually a really solid throwing star. And it felt easy to throw too. Like it felt, like I was concerned about being aerodynamic. It didn't, there was no problem with that at all. It just kind of flew nicely. So I like this one. This Deathclaw throwing star is a good start. Let's go check out something else. I don't know. I wish, one of the problems with these YouTube videos is unless they're live, you don't get immediate feedback, because I'd love to hear which stars you guys would want to see. So I have a couple of other ones I think would be fun to try out. And this is the first one that comes to mind. It's, we call it on the site, we call it the Lethal Chrome Bat Shuriken. And it's interesting because it's got a different shape than our other Shuriken. It's got you know, a couple of smaller points. The thing I don't like about it is that it's flat on this side, where it's beveled on this side. I don't know if that'll affect the way that it throws, but it is super sharp. So I think it's worth a try just to see what it does. But if nothing else, I mean, this thing would look awesome on your wall. So be a good wall hanger, but personally, I'm not a huge fan of buying things to hang on my wall. I'd rather have something that's usable. So let's give it a try. Okay. It's not bad. I mean, it stuck in there really nice, but my concern is if I wouldn't have gotten lucky and it would have, you know, hit like that. Actually, that still sticks rather nicely. So maybe I'm completely wrong on this one. Maybe this is like a super good throwing star. I'm not sure, but that stuck pretty nice for that first throw. So I don't know. I've got one more that I think you guys are going to find really interesting that I've always been super curious about seeing if they actually work. And that is the throwing cards. You know, I'm talking about the Shuriken that look like a pack of playing cards, and then they've got sharp edges. I have a feeling that they're going to throw really nicely. I gotta open these up real quick. Okay. All right. So this comes with a pack of 4, and each one, it's kind of cool. You know, it reminds me of Gambit or something from X-Men. But I guess the downside to these is, again, they're a flat back to them. And then the front's beveled, but it's pretty sharp. The points aren't very sharp. They're kind of dull points. But based on the mass that this thing has, I have a feeling it's going to actually stick rather nicely, because that's pretty heavy. So let's just give it a try, see what it does. I mean, if I can get good at sticking these, it's going to look pretty cool. So I don't know. Let's just give it a whirl. Okay. I'm going to try throwing it overhand again. It's got a little bit different grip. Wow, that just completely sliced the arm. As you can see, it just completely sliced off that section of the arm because it hit the side of it. So I'm curious to see if I can actually get one of these things to stick. But that was that shows that they're definitely a deadly weapon. But let's see if we can get one to stick. So. Hit really nicely. I saw it hit like right here, and it still didn't stick in. So I'm slightly concerned that there's just too much weight to this thing to actually stick into the target. So let's give it one more try. Otherwise, we'll kind of know that these might not be the best throwing weapons. Okay. Okay. Wow. Okay, take a look at it from this side. That actually took a whole huge chunk right out of the Wing Chun dummy. So I would say these things are a whole lot more difficult to stick than a standard Shuriken, but if you can stick them right, they're pretty deadly. So I don't know, kind of cool. Anyway, if there's any other ones you guys want to see, or if you have any questions about any of these throwing stars that we carry, definitely leave your comments below. I'd love to do future videos where I show off different ones. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel. Really appreciate that. So have a great day, guys. See you next week.